Hey there, my name is Cole Adams, and you are watching the best college basketball podcast out there that covers the entire sport of college basketball, brackets, bubbles, and bid stealers. Now, here are your hosts, Sam Fetterman and Jonathan Lidskin.
Season 5, episode 1 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. I am Sam Fetterman. That is Jonathan Lidskin. Jonathan, how are you doing tonight?
Mixed emotions, Sam. One day, obviously, but mixed emotions.
Fun first day of the NCAA tournament. I'm not sure what's going on with our stream. I'm trying to get that up right now.
Yeah,
weird stuff. But let's do this. I'm going to bring on a couple guests from across the landscape to talk about certain games that they may have been at or watching. And we're going to start with Anthony Christensen. He was in Providence today. He watched the Arkansas Razorbacks take on the Kansas Jayhawks. Anthony, are you alive? Did John Calipari kill you today?
That's unfortunate.
Good stuff here. Anthony Christensen really executing tonight.
Great start. Take him off until he figures it out.
Yeah. Cole Adams is coming on. He was not at any games. He's just chilling backstage.
Cole, are your legs hurting from standing yet?
Cole, I can't hear you.
Cole, we can't hear you. Your audio is being odd.
All right. Let's bring on someone who will be able to talk right now. Ian Curtis, live from Denver, Colorado. Ian, the Aggies got a big win tonight against Yale. It seems like you have something you want to say.
Yeah, I would like to go back to your prediction, Sam, first of all. As I know, this comes up every March between you and I and when A&M's in the tournament. But, yeah, it was
I picked them to win last year.
That's true, in the first round, and then you had, I believe, you said a certain Houston game was over long before it went to overtime, but moving on to this year, big win for A&M. It was, I think there was a lot of people, it felt like Yale was a really serious threat because of what they did to Auburn last year. So I don't think it was something where I don't think Yale was overlooked at all. And I think you really saw that A&M come out shot really, really well. 59% in the first half, which is insane considering if you look at, shooting numbers throughout the year. But overall, just a really solid win with, Pharrell Payne setting a career high, 25 points, 10 rebounds, double-double, really pushing kind of the paint, really using that size advantage against Yale is what got it done for the Aggies tonight.
I agree, Ian. It was all about Pharrell Payne for Texas A&M. Nick Townsend and Samson Alaton just had no answers. And Yale wasn't able to score as efficiently as they're used to in the paint. They weren't able to get to the line very much, if at all. And Texas A&M was kind of just dictating the flow of the game in the paint. They were getting to the line. Even though they didn't dominate the glass the way that they usually do, their offensive rebounding rate was 12% lower than the season average, and they were only up by 3 in the rebound battle with like 4 minutes left. With 6 minutes left, ahead by 11. And this game was far from over in the middle of the second half. Yale made a push, a couple pushes, but A&M had responses to every push and were able to hit shots to keep the game comfortable and get the win they needed. They got stopped. They really strung together a whole bunch of stops as well. I thought it was a really impressive performance by Texas A&M to take advantage of where they did have the matchup advantages. Hard deny the ball to John Poulikitis in the first half. kind of make him struggle to get going. And then when the game was a little bit, and when Texas A&M got a bigger lead, Yale kind of started to force feed Poulikitas a little bit. And to his credit, he made some big shots, but it was not a good day for Bez and Bang, the Ivy League Player of the Year.
Yeah, and a lot of those A&M responses that you mentioned have come from, maybe people you bet going in. Jace Carter with 10 points, and when Yale cut the A&M lead, down to just 6 points. Jace Carter hit a three. Anderson Garcia block on the other end, and then Jace Carter offensive rebound and a putback. Jace Carter has been disappointing to a lot of A&M fans this year, averaging less than 4 points a game, kind of taking a step backward from where he was last season. So to see him, really have that type of performance, and then you see Pharrell Payne with the huge performance in the paint there. You see Manny Obaseki, kind of bringing his March Manny vibe back. Uh, that's a sign of potentially how this A&M team could make a run, because as much as Wade Taylor and Zurich Phelps get all the attention, there's a lot of depth and scoring depth to this A&M team that maybe a lot of people don't realize. I mean, because any given night you can have something like that where a Jace Carter, a Manny Obaseki, Anderson Garcia has a great shooting day like he did against Texas in the SEC tournament. Like that to just about anyone. Now you can also have the flip side of that, which has also happened to A&M this season. But I think it really showed something that when you got a crowd, a crowd of, by the end of the game, Michigan fans, San Diego fans cheering for Yale, and it really feeling like a hostile environment. That it wasn't your your leading scorer, your number one guard, really putting a stop to those runs. It was a lot of those bench pieces, a lot of those depth pieces. I thought that was an interesting aspect of it.
Jonathan, what do you have to add on this A&M game before I let Ian go?
Yeah, one of the reasons I picked A&M in this game is I thought, even if Yale could sort of neutralize Texas A&M's strengths, which I thought they did a decent job at tonight, there was always the chance that A&M had a better than normal offensive day because they were playing against less athleticism than they normally did. And that's kind of what I think happened tonight. Texas A&M didn't have a huge free throw advantage. It was an advantage, but it wasn't huge. And same thing on the offensive glass. I thought Yale's fight was actually, to be expected, like we kind of talked about, Sam. But A&M, if A&M's shooting a little better than they normally do, a little better than average, they're probably going to be able to take care of a mid-major team just because of how athletic they are.
All right, Ian, anything else to add before we let you go?
Not too much. Hope y'all have a good night, and I'll be back again covering A&M Michigan on Saturday.
All right. See ya, and have a nice day in Denver.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good night.
All right, see ya. Anthony Christensen is here, walking the streets of Providence. This is not safe whatsoever. Can you hear me?
Oh, hello?
Hi, Anthony.
Hey, what's going on?
So, Arkansas, St. John's will top at 240 on Saturday.
It's gonna, yeah. Top at 240.
But let's start with the Hogs, with the Razorbacks.
Oh, that's the news you want to start with? He met Tony Patella, so we're not going to lead with that.
I did. I did meet Tony Patelis. Meet your
How was
enemies.
that interaction?
It was good. It was fun. It was very fun. A good dude. Enemy, of course.
Glad that he got to actually, see you working your job, so now he can't use that again.
He now knows for sure I am employed. So there is that. But no, it was great. Fun little interaction. Obviously, meet your enemies on Twitter. But no, very fun. He DM'd me like section 219 or wherever it was. I don't even remember, but I was like, oh man, here we go. Like if
I'm
I don't
not
come
gonna
back
lie.
alive.
I'm not gonna lie. Tony Patelis, if he was in the same room as me, I would have to evacuate.
I didn't even know he was here until he DM'd me. Like I tweeted the photo of the Providence Cheesecake Factory at him. I was like, "You like what you see?" And he's like, "Get out of my city." And I was like, "Yeah." I guess he claims Providence, and now I know him for sure as being alive. Oh, it's raining outside the dunk. That's great.
It's also
But
raining inside the dunk if you step on the floor.
getting wet. But yeah, it was fun for sure. Gonna get inside the media shuttle here.
Oh, we're gonna do this
Very
live
fun.
from the media shuttle.
Live from the media shuttle.
There could be some pretty interesting guests on here.
No, it's just yeah.
Because we were,
no, very.
I think Jonathan and I were talking about this. Like basically, the entire East Coast media is at the Providence site.
Yeah, I know it's been fun too. I mean, I think everybody's here for Rick Pitino and
Old Rick.
obviously the now officially happening.
What, you mean they're not there for Amir Khan?
That's a good point.
We'll talk about Mr. Aura in a little bit, but we got to talk about this game. Arkansas, Kansas. Arkansas leads by 11 in the second half. Kansas comes back with the zone. Arkansas ends up winning. What was the turning point in this game?
I honestly kind of think it was KJ Adams going down and not coming back. I think that's really when Arkansas started to kind of take control, especially in the defensive end. Because after that, I think Kansas went on a cold stretch, and Kansas wasn't able to get anything really going on offense anymore. I thought KJ Adams, had his moments, and obviously he's not, the go-to guy for Kansas, right? But when he went down, I think it definitely shifted things in Arkansas's favor, and you saw some Arkansas players definitely come in with some big plays. I think you look at Boogie Fland coming up with that big steal in his first game since I think it was January 18th when he last played. I think John L. Davis had a really big block there in the end. Jonas Adu had a lot of good defensive moments as well. But if I'm being asked to pinpoint one exact moment that shifted things back into Arkansas's favor, I would have to, unfortunately, I would have to say it would be KJ Adams' injury, because I mean you never want to see that be the reason. But I think Arkansas kind of took advantage of him not being able to be on the floor, and really took locked down defensively after that.
Jonas Adu, 22 points, best game, one of the best games he's played in an Arkansas uniform, probably the best. What took him so long to get in the rotation?
Yeah, so Jonas, he had a foot operation in the off season, so he was out, I think, basically the whole summer. So, and then it kind of bothered him throughout the non-conference season as well. And then he just kind of struggled and just didn't look like the Jonas Adu that we kind of all know from Tennessee. And it just kind of, I think it kind of took a combination of things. I think Adu Thero kind of going out has kind of put more of an onus on him to step into a larger role and kind of take over there. And then I think just with Arkansas, just in general, having a shorter rotation, they needed him to step up, and he has. I think with him, for the most part, coming off the bench, tonight was his first start in, I don't remember exactly how long, but first time in a while. Thank you so much.
This is riveting.
But yeah, I mean, in recent games especially, he's really kind of taken I don't want to say taken over, but he's really started to really justify his place in that rotation, right? I mean, in those last couple of regular season games before the SEC tournament, and then the South Carolina game to open the SEC tournament as well, he was big, and that was just kind of how that kind of came to be, and yeah, he's continued to do that, and I think when you look at the rotation of bigs that Arkansas is kind of running with, I'm just posting up in the hotel now. With him, Trevin Brazil, and Zavonimir Ivisic, they need him because he offers something a little bit different than the other two. He's more of a traditional big than Trevin Brazil or Zavonimir Ivisic. So there's that aspect of things, and yeah, he's really started to come into his own for sure.
Okay, I want to get back to the game. This was a fun one because it's two of the greatest coaches of all time with piss running down their legs the entire night. Jonathan, like, what the fuck was up with these guys?
Well, it's good to see that Kenny Payne is once again part of a zone fiasco, if you will. Everyone knows this stuff from Louisville last year when Indiana went zone against them. I think that we expected kind of this sort of slop fest, and in some aspects it was, but I actually thought that Arkansas's talent for a lot of this game really showed. I mean, we talked about it with Adu. TJ Wagner, I thought, had his moments. Janelle Davis was excellent, if not one of the best games that he's played this season. So this is kind of, what this Arkansas roster was brought in as, this talented group that kind of will figure it out as they go along. And, they didn't have great answers to that zone tonight, but there were certainly stretches where they looked like a really talented bunch that was meshing well together.
Anthony, what were your takes on the coaching matchup in this one?
I mean, it's a interesting one for sure. I mean, you don't expect to see these guys in a 7-10 game, right? So when that kind of came up, obviously John Calipari and Bill Self, they've been friends for a long time. They're always talking about their relationship and how much they've competed against each other and how much they respect each other, how much they like each other. I mean, they schedule each other a lot, and they had the preseason exhibition this year as well. So that was another fun aspect of it. But I mean, you're looking at two Hall of Fame coaches in this game, right? So you expected some high level basketball, and it was definitely in my eyes the best game, at least in Providence today. Obviously, I didn't get to watch all of the games super closely. One game in particular, I was pretty happy I didn't get to watch all that closely, but not to dog on my alma mater that much, but
we'll do plenty of that, and we have a guest coming on to do plenty of that who was at the game. Jonathan, we're gonna have to guess who it is.
Yeah, I'll keep my thoughts on my alma mater and my pain and sadness to myself. But no, I mean, when you've got two coaches at this level and you can criticize their seasons, because obviously both of them have failed to meet expectations in their respective seasons. Kansas being preseason number 1 and Arkansas being preseason number 16 as well. So you can criticize them for, and rightly so, I think, for falling short of those expectations. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's still John Calipari versus Bill Self. I mean, they still get talent better than the vast majority of most of college coaches, and I think you saw a lot of that on display tonight. Obviously, we mentioned Jonas Adu, John L. Davis, Boogie Flynn, DJ Wagner, those guys. And then you look on the other side with Hunter Dickinson and KJ Adams, DeJuan Harris, Flory Badunga, all those guys. So I mean, it was a high level basketball game. It was awesome to be at, and it was a ton of fun.
Anthony, we thank you. We'll maybe talk to you again on Sunday. We got to bring on some more guests though.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
Jaden Daly's here. Jaden, your camera sucks.
Yeah, I don't know why, but we'll see. The hotel room view across the street from the dunk or the amp or whatever the hell you want to call it.
It's the dunk. So first off, Jaden, what time are you flying out tomorrow?
10:15.
10:15. So you're gonna miss the
And then
early
there's the Baylor game, yeah.
the Baylor game. Well, that's one of the games that Jonathan and I disagree on. I have Baylor. Jonathan has Mississippi State.
I have Baylor. I'll break the tie.
Well, I mean, we have a bunch of other guests coming on here. It's not just you.
Getting there right on time to see Duke, though?
Unfortunately. No, I'm right on time to see Mount St. Mary's. Get it right.
A team in a conference that you don't cover anymore.
Yeah, but I show up for the NCAA tournament. How about that?
I would if I could.
Well, you'll get locker room audio from Donnie and however many.
I'll get them when they're in the East Regional next week. Okay.
That's true.
Anyway, honestly, if they make the Sweet 16, I think I'd have to drop everything and go on Thursday.
You have to.
But all right, St. John's sluggish first half. What changed to halftime?
Same thing they always do. They came out and really stepped on the gas. R.J. Lewis got hot. Omaha got gassed, and one thing led to another. It was typical St. John's.
That feel like typical St. John's. How would you describe typical St. John's?
Slow start, playing down the competition for most of the first half. Hits another gear in the second. May not always go on a kill shot, but something like 14-3 or whatever. I think it was 17-5 at one point before Chris Crutchfield called the timeout early in the second half. And once they do that, when they get to a 10-point lead, it feels like the game is always over. And that's what I was telling people at halftime today. 5-point lead, they get it to 10, this game's over. And sure enough, it was.
St. John's, why did they struggle in the first half today?
They took a lot more threes than they're normally used to. 18 of their first 26 shots were from beyond the arc. You normally don't take 69% of your shots from three, but Omaha played a pack line in the first half, and it frustrated St. John's. You could tell that they were a little tight from the first 5 attempts that didn't go in, and R.J. Lewis even admitted as such in the post-game press conference, where Omaha tried something new. It worked for about maybe 15 minutes, and then once St. John's got the lead, that was that.
Did Omaha's what impressed you about Omaha or in the early part of this game?
They reminded me in the first half of a John Dunn team, just with the way they packed the paint and the way they made you work on defense. I didn't think it would hold up for most of the game, but for a first time and a first impression, they really left a mark on me.
How's Jordan Sarnoff doing?
Jordan's awesome. I love that kid.
All right, Jonathan, anything to add on the St. John's game?
No, I just thought it was a typical, St. John's effort. This team's gritty. They fight. They are one of the best teams in the country at adjusting when things aren't going their way. And that all of that showed tonight.
Jonathan, did you root against Drake tonight?
I did. I felt that I had to.
I'm disappointed in you.
I felt that I had to
support. You can't root against his school. He's not you.
Or you.
I don't root against Syracuse.
I will say
I have negative. I have negative feelings about what's going to happen when they play in a game, but I don't root against them.
I will say, Jaden, that I am, very pleased that I get to keep watching Ben McCollum coach this team and that team play.
Me too. I want him in San Francisco next week, which means I have to root for St. John's to beat Arkansas.
All right. Speaking of Mizzou, Jaden, thank you for coming on. We have a recurring guest. Quentin's back on the show, live from Wichita. Oh,
out here,
live from
still
the arena.
David
still
Campbell
here.
Still in the house?
Yes, David Campbell is still in the house.
Get him! Bring him on!
Let me get him.
We need to do this. This needs to be Marathon to March / whatever other thing. This / brackets. This needs to be one of the all-time moments on Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Steelers.
Hold on. All right, I'm on the
Brackets,
court.
Bubbles, and Marathon.
Yeah, marathons and Bid Steelers.
Am I hopping on?
Yes.
Hey! Okay. David Campbell is here. All right, so Mizzou falls to Drake 67-57. The Tigers kind of came out and couldn't score. Drake couldn't score. Nobody was doing anything early in this game. I think I tweeted out Drake played badly, as badly as possible for a team that was getting everything it wanted and controlling the pace of the game. Quentin, was that your takeaway from the first 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. Drake played exactly how it wanted to play. They controlled the pace the entire game. From Mizzou's perspective, that's what I was really worried about entering tonight, is that they had not played a team all season like Drake. I mean, granted, no one really has, just because they're the slowest team in the country in terms of the number of possessions they get in a game. And a lot of people said that if Mizzou was able to speed this game up and get out in transition a lot and capitalize like they have done so many times this season, that the Tigers probably had a good chance of winning. But that didn't happen. Even when they tried to push it in transition, Drake was stonewalling them most of the time. Their pack line defense worked even in transition. They would almost every time have 3 to 4 guys in the paint. And they created a lot of turnovers because of that. No one could really get going for Mizzou offensively. And even during that run in the second half, where the crowd here, I don't know if you all were able to hear it on TV. It was crazy. Like both
great.
with Mizzou and Drake. It was nuts in here. Mizzou pulled within 2. Mark Mitchell goes to the line, has a chance to tie it, and goes 1 for 2. And that's the closest Mizzou would get. So Drake played this game on its terms, and Mizzou couldn't respond properly. They couldn't get consistent offense from really anybody. And a really, really fun season came, like a lot of other great Mizzou seasons in the past, came to a really disappointing end.
Yeah, you mentioned that when Mizzou made that run. I just want to go a little bit before that, and we're gonna bring somebody on here, and he's gonna break this play down for us. One of our candidates for CTE shot of the night, CJ, is coming in here. CJ, how you doing?
Oh boy,
I'm doing great, Sam.
One of our candidates for CTE shot of the night comes from none other than Bennett.
Oh my goodness, this was ridiculous. I cannot believe he had the audacity to try a one-legged three-pointer in the NCAA
CJ,
tournament.
As the inventor of the CTE shot, how CTE was that? Put it on a scale.
All right, so you got to look at all 3 aspects of the CTE shot, right? So first, we got to start with the C. Was it contested? Yeah, he had a hand in his face, but it wasn't, a complete smothering of Bennett Sturtz. Second one, you got to look at tough. A one-legged three-pointer is incredibly tough. I rate that about an 8 or a 9 tough. Now, was it extra? Yes. It was incredibly extra. There was no need for him to be doing all that. I mean, we know how good of a shooter he is, but there was no need to do that on the national stage. I give this one a solid 8.5.
And then one more CTE shot candidate of the game coming from right after CTE shot of the night candidate coming from that game, coming right after that run by Mizzou. I'm going to pull it up right here. Here it is. It's from none other than T.O. Barrett. CJ, how does this rank on the CTE shot of the night scale?
All right, so let's run it back. So you got your contested. It was very contested. A fadeaway fadeaway jumper, excuse me. It's very tough. He had a hand in his face. He had a body that he was running into. Tough, definitely. But it wasn't that extra,
16 on the shot clock? I'd argue it was extra.
Listen. Situationally, maybe. But in terms of overall, like, what you see throughout the rhythm of a game, I mean, you see that sometimes. That's just a bad shot. It might not be extra.
Not from a freshman when the team really needs a bucket.
Well, that's an independent problem.
Yeah, I just want to chime in real quick. That spin move to the right has been T.O. Barrett's safe move. like the entire season. Like if he's driving to the basket, more times than not, I feel like he's hit the spin to the right, even when like the shot we just saw, even when it actually like hurt him that he spun right. Like he did not need to do that. And like he was close, like it almost went in. Could they have gotten a better shot? Maybe. But yeah, no, that was a common move for T.O. Barrett. I just didn't know if he was actually going to shoot it or not.
Yeah, I think this one is, you put it right in the middle of extra, where it's not completely uncommon, but it's definitely not a smart shot. I think we can all agree it's definitely not a smart one. So I'll give this one a solid 7, 6.5, 7 on the CTE shot scale.
So which one is the current favorite for CTE shot of the night?
I think Bennett Sturts has to be the favorite at this point.
All right, we'll get back to it, because I think Wade Taylor has a couple nominations. Trey
Jemiah
Benham,
Neal.
Trey Benham has some nominations. Chase Johnston has some nominations. That entire Purdue High Point game has a couple nominations.
I think we said
I has some nominations.
Sam, we were talking about that. I think we said that it was the CTE game of the day.
What?
The High Point Purdue game.
Oh, that was one of the CTE games of the day.
Yeah.
You two are going to be insufferable next weekend.
Quentin, anything else to add on this Mizzou game before we kind of take the Drake angle?
It sucked. Like, really bad. Like, this was a team after they beat Alabama where people were having genuine conversations of if they could get a 2 seed. Like, that is how high they got at a certain point in the season. And they lose 4 out of 5, 3 straight to end the regular season. Seemed to pick a little momentum back up in the SEC tournament by beating Mississippi State. And comparatively to what Florida did to other teams down the stretch, gave Florida a pretty good run without its best player. And they get a geographically convenient draw with Wichita. They just ran into a really freaking good team in Drake. I don't know how far they can go. I think athletically there's a ceiling for as fundamentally sound they are defensively, and for as clean shooting, and they turn the ball over a good bit tonight. But their fundamentals are extremely sound, and I think they have a pretty good ceiling. It's just for Mizzou, they're going to have to reset again. They lose a lot of key players that helped wash away all of the failures from last season, including guys that were on that team like Caleb Grill and Tamar Bates. And so for it to end like this, it stinks. And the locker room was extremely somber and sad, and there were a lot of red eyes because, like I said before, they're extremely disappointed. Like, even though they probably weren't going to make it to San Antonio, that was the goal. And they fell short. And I think there's a chance that this was their best chance to get there in a few years because they had a lot of really great players that could do a lot of great things at a high level. So it just sucks. It's I wanted to cover another game on Saturday for Mizzou, but there are 2 sides to March, and Mizzou experienced the ugly one tonight.
Yeah, that's the thing you notice when you cover these mid-major conference tournaments. You get the press conference of the happy winning team, and then you have to do the complete press conference code switch. You're like kind of laughing, and then you're like, so what went wrong out there? What are you going to look back on when you think of like it's the total code switch? Anyway, for the Drake angle on this game, what impressed you the most about the Bulldogs?
I don't think I saw a single missed defensive rotation. At least one that was egregious. Like, their rotations were so crisp, and Mizzou partially got open opportunities both inside and outside, even though they had a clear size advantage. And when you're able to shut down a team with guys like Josh Gray, who are 7 foot 260, and Mark Mitchell, who's been dominating teams for most of the season inside, that speaks volumes to the type of program that Drake has been able to build over these past few seasons. They've had both defense and offense first teams. I think back to 2 years ago when they almost beat Miami, that was a defense first team. And this is 2 years ago times a lot. There are many reasons why they were 27-3. in the regular season and rolled to an NBC title. And so they just did a lot of things right, even when they were missing a lot of free throws late. The press Mizzou put on, it gave them trouble. They threw the ball away a handful of times off of traps, but they made shots when it mattered. Bennett Sturts was incredible, and I was overall really impressed with Drake.
Jonathan, what do you have to say about the Bulldogs?
I think I've come to the realization, watching tonight, that no matter who Drake plays, it's just like fundamentally impossible to blow them out. It's fundamentally impossible to blow them out, and it's pretty impossible to beat them playing from behind like Mizzou did tonight. And I know Mizzou got close, but Mizzou had 29 possessions in the first half of this game. Like, you should not be able to play a basketball game that slow. It shouldn't be able to happen. And Drake is able to do it. You can't speed them up. Like, yeah, they'll turn it over. Like Mizzou did turn them over tonight, but Drake just for stretches of time gets so comfortable in what they're doing, and it's just impossible to get them out of rhythm. Like, they don't get bothered by anything. And yeah, it's like, like Quentin said, I've been wearing Mizzou gear all day. I wanted Mizzou to win that game. It's tough to see them go out that way, but I'm very excited that I get to see this Drake team with Ben McCollum and maybe his only season with them play one more.
All right, Quentin. Anything else to add before we let you go and move on and talk about the other game?
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm glad I actually got to talk to you, Sam. We've known each other for a while, and we've never actually talked face to face. So this was a good time. Glad I got to be here. Wichita is a cool city. I've never been here before. And now I can say I covered a March Madness game, which is pretty freaking sweet. So best of luck with the rest of the show, and I hope you guys have another great day of college basketball tomorrow.
Are you going to be able to watch, or are you going to head back?
I think we're going to stay here tomorrow, watch all the games from somewhere here in Wichita. Yeah. Actually, I actually just turned 21 45 minutes ago. So my world has opened up. I can do a lot more things now than I was able to do 45 minutes ago. So this is. I was gonna say, yeah, I could throw some money down on some teams that I really believe in. So yeah, no, this was overall was a good night, and just hope you guys have a good rest of the show.
Hey, you got to talk to Ben McCollum. That's what really mattered. Actually, no.
Yes, I did. Ben McCollum. Well, I got to talk to him yesterday. They did some.
Drake won.
Yeah, they did some media. They did some media yesterday. So it was cool.
All right. Thank you, Quentin, for coming on. Let's kind of get back to the other game. We've got a whole bunch. I got my bracket right up there. You guys can't see it. But let's kind of talk from now the start. Man, we nailed Creighton Louisville.
One of the more one of the
all-time shockers.
One of the more proud 8-9 games that I've picked. Creighton shooting the way it did from three certainly helped, but man, that team was not even close to as rattled offensively as people were convincing themselves that Louisville was going to have them.
Gee, where was the torture chamber that everyone said Chucky Hepburn was going to have Stephen Ashford?
We really thought a guy with a kid was going to be rattled by Chucky Hepburn. Dude, his kid was at the game. He wasn't going to get rattled.
Ashworth had 22 points on 13 shots. He had 5 assists and 1 turnover.
Yeah.
And then, Jonathan, you mentioned it last night. Jemiah Neal is the perfect antidote to what
Louisville had on the way. He had Edwards in hell today on both ends.
That was the real torture chamber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was fun. That was a great way to get the tournament.
Dude, Louisville kept attacking Kalkbrenner.
Yeah, and they expected to keep getting fouled. Kalk doesn't foul. He goes straight up every time. He's probably the best at it in the entire country, and he has been for
1.6 fouls per 40 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think, Kalk is never in foul trouble. I don't understand why Louisville thought they could simply just attack, drop coverage, going straight into the 3-time defensive player of the year in the Big East.
Jonathan, Ryan Kalkbrenner has never fouled out of a college game.
In his entire career. I think that's honestly mostly just because people are too scared to attack him.
I don't care. He's played 5 years as a rim protector in college basketball and has never fouled out.
Truly remarkable.
What else do we want to talk about this game? Someone threw a water bottle on the court.
Dude,
we were also told that the game being in Lexington would give like an extra 3 points to Louisville.
Yeah, and to be fair, Louisville fans,
Louisville fans showed up. Louisville team didn't.
Yeah, I had a source with boots on the ground at the ACC tournament last week that told me that Louisville fans are certifiably insane, and so it did not surprise me to see a water bottle being thrown on the floor during.
Fred King played 2 minutes in this game, and that's 2 minutes too many.
Who played 2 minutes?
Fred King.
Yeah, no.
No offense. I hope I don't have to see him play in the next round. He shouldn't be allowed to advance.
Louisville made their runs when he was in the game. I would love to see the plus minus for.
He was in the game for 2 minutes.
His minutes, because those were disastrous.
Let's see. Let's pull it up.
I think Louisville is a math ball team that played against a team that is really good at neutralizing.
-3.
That seems low. If I'm being honest.
I mean, he's the only guy that's like even remotely close to the minuses.
Yeah, that was a great effort from Creighton on both ends. I thought Louisville was really out of sorts from the get-go. Chucky was the only one that came to play in the first half. Feel bad for Rain, though. He great player. Fought through it tonight with that injury.
Really wasn't himself.
Nah, he wasn't. And I'm not saying that changes the game or anything like that, but yeah, it was tough to see him go out that way.
All right, let's talk CTE game of the day.
Yo, let's go.
This game was off its rocker.
Yep.
Purdue and High Point. The first thing that I noticed about this game was that there were no calls in the first half, and then everything was called in the second half.
Purdue's stars played awful. Like, relative to their norm, they played. TKR turned it on in the second half, but he was in foul trouble. Braden really didn't have his best shooting day.
Braden was 6 for 19.
It was honestly compoming that Purdue was where they were at the half with how bad Purdue played. High Point was just hitting some absurd shots.
Mm-hmm.
And it kept them in it, to be perfectly honest. But it never really felt to me like High Point was going to win.
Nah, it was.
There was one moment in the second half when you texted me that it felt Furman, Virginia.
Oh, yes. That one moment. Even though, I didn't, even then, it still took, a boneheaded Virginia play for Furman to win that game.
Yeah.
But it made me a little bit nervous, I guess, that, High Point was as close as they were, but it didn't, I had my confidence in Braden Smith and Matt Painter.
I mean, yeah, High Point cut it to what? It was
3.
It was 59-56.
Yeah.
All right, CJ, what do you got?
But it's just what we were talking about, even with the preview stuff when the bracket first came out. It was always the interior battle. I mean, 19 offensive rebounds for Purdue. It doesn't matter how well High Point was shooting at that point. You can't give up that many second chance points, or second chance at least opportunities to this Purdue team. I mean, High Point did what it was going to do. It shot a lot of threes. Not all of them looked pretty. A lot of them did look, rushed or whatever, but that's just
extra.
The way that as you could say. But that's just the way that the Huss Bus has been running as his team for the entire year. And sure, that's going to work in the Big South, but you go up against one, moderately okay defense from the Big Ten, and it just
Moderately okay is pushing it for what they were in the Big Ten.
Yeah, but
I had some pretty vile things to say to Litskin about High Point today. It was I said High Point gimmick ball of having more talent and chucking up shots won't work against a real team is what I was trying to say all week. That's a little harsh, but it's kind of what happened. Like that's kind of my analysis. Purdue had better basketball players, and High Point just kind of coasted in conference play off of being better.
Yeah, I think we really saw today that what many people thought was a good draw for High Point was really a good draw for Purdue. And to be honest, I'm not really sure there was a good draw for High Point.
The good draw for High Point is play defense.
The hashtag thank you Sam Fetterman was necessary today.
Jonathan, High Point in this game. So like, High Point's a deep drop team. Like when you play and drop, like you don't rotate because you're not leaving your man. So when you're not leaving your man, you're supposed to be able to get a body on a man when a shot goes up. When that happens, you're supposed to have better positioning for rebounds. High Point in deep drop coverage without rotations gave up 19 offensive rebounds. Like Alan Huss has done an excellent job over the last 2 seasons at High Point. He looked like junior varsity today. Just completely and utterly poor performance by a very good ascending young coach in college basketball.
It's really hard to evaluate it's really hard to evaluate some of these coaches that are at schools in mid-major leagues that they just have so many more resources than the rest of their league, and High Point is one of the case studies for that.
The epitome of that.
Yeah, it's like, listen, I'm not trying to discredit Alan Huss and what he's done the last 2 years, but it makes it harder to evaluate. Same goes for Bryce Drew at Grand Canyon. So, I don't take anything away from what High Point's accomplished this season. They won the regular season title. They won the conference tournament. They get to the NCAA tournament. They had a tremendous year, but I think there were probably some roster flaws, schematic flaws that didn't exactly make them built to come into this tournament and win a game.
All right, CJ, anything else to add on the CTE game of the day?
No, I think also Purdue, I mean, you look at the way High Point wants to play, and they want to go deep in their bench. They just want to run you off the floor. They played 11 guys today, but Purdue coming off the bench had 2 guys. You want to talk about the rebounding battle? Combined for 18 rebounds off the bench.
Yeah, Harris and Heidi.
So
I think
Will Berg minutes were big.
He should probably stick with that matchup zone against Purdue on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't trust TKR's playmaking out of the high post.
No. Although I do trust TKR's push shot out of the high post.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe elevate Bodo a little bit more on that.
It's going to be interesting. I wonder. I mean, I think for what McNeese showed, especially late in the game today, I think Purdue has a lot to build off of that and can really exploit some things. Because although, listen, and I was talking with some people that I was watching the game with, and McNeese is a team is very strong, obviously, a great coach, but there's a reason why a lot of these guys are ex-Power 5 guys or ex, we saw Quadir Copeland had some boneheaded mistake. Like this is a team that isn't foolproof. And that I think a guy like Matt Painter has been, able to out coach and kind of pick that apart. It really is just going to be that matchup zone is going to be interesting. I'm actually excited for that because
that's
You guys
kind of a really impressive thing about about McNeese. It's that Will Wade has taken these guys who were like, they played hard, they had certain skills, but they didn't know how to win. And he's made all of them winning players. They all make winning plays. I think like Joe Charles was a guy that had played for some winning teams, but Quadir Copeland did not. Quadir Copeland, for every winning play he would make, he made a losing play. And he made a lot of winning plays, but he also made a lot of losing plays at Syracuse. Javon Garcia played for some not good UMass teams. DJ Richards played for a really bad UTSA team. Brandon Murray played for an awful Georgetown team. Obviously, he was a piece of that LSU team as a freshman that was good, but he played for an awful Georgetown team and then a mediocre Mississippi team. Brian Salabong played for a horrendous Tulsa team and a horrendous ASU team. Sincere Parker was on a couple disappointing SLU teams. And obviously Shoemate was on some really bad McNeese teams. So the ability of Will Wade to take a lot of talented players and teach them how to play consistent winning basketball, and teach them how to kind of band together the culture. McNeese is excellent right now. They got Mr. Aura himself, Amir Khan, who's basically the Jack Golke of this tournament. I texted that to Jonathan. Hey, is Amir Khan the star of this tournament? And he was like,
Yeah,
you might be.
Yeah.
You're in touch with the pulse of that stuff, CJ. What types of graphics are the people asking for about Amir Khan?
I have yet to make an Amir Khan graphic. I kind of rue the day that I do have to make one.
How are you anti-manager?
I am incredibly pro-manager. I'm incredibly pro-manager.
I don't know, man. After what you just said, I feel like you're anti-manager.
I'm not anti-manager. I come from a family of managers, I will have you know. And I very much support
this entire show comes from a family of managers.
Yeah.
It really does.
Listen, I'm pro-manager. All right.
I don't know, man. Being anti-Amir Khan is a little much.
This has become like one of the 30 most like unserious discussions in the history of this podcast, and that's saying something.
I don't know about that. Maybe top 100, but I don't think it's top 30. We had some really bad ones in the middle of last season.
Yeah, we did. That was a lull that we need to forget.
I had a rant about Syracuse where I said some really weird things.
Oh man. I was, impressed for a couple reasons today. Will Wade has always been a culture guy. He's been able to build winning cultures wherever he's been. I think, if you look at the history of his coaching, I don't think he's always been like the schematic genius, the in-game genius, but he does everything else at an elite level, which makes up for a lot. Today, it was schematic genius from him and his staff, and that's what really impressed me the most.
Great staff too, by the way.
Yeah. That.
And I hope he brings his whole staff to. Well, I hope like the associate stays behind as the head coach at McNeese, but I hope that he brings most of his staff over to NC State with him.
Yeah, that matchup zone was something. Clemson had no answer for it. They scouted and prepared way better than Clemson today. And as someone who has been really high on Brad Brownell this season and has been praising him, it was disappointing for me to watch that.
Yeah, Brad Brownell, welcome back to my shit list. I am going to doubt you again.
Is Brad Brownell a bad ACC merchant? People are wondering.
Brad Brownell is immortal. He's a good enough basketball coach to never get fired, but he's not a good enough basketball coach for people to actually recognize that he's a good basketball coach. And I will be continuing to play on to the, hey, maybe he's not as good of a basketball coach as I once thought he was. Yeah. And that once was about 10 hours ago.
Like we were talking about him being a good option for Indiana earlier this year. I think you and I probably would have pretty safely said that, had we known Darren DeVries was an option, that he was better than Brad Brownell.
Yes. All right, let's move on. We'll talk coaching stuff later.
Yeah.
CJ, thanks for joining us. I'm going to take you off now. We've gone a little bit far from what we intended, but we really appreciate you coming on.
The CTE shot of the night is a great segment for next year, though.
Yes, it is. We're going to have scouts all across the country to send us the CTE shot of the night.
Divide them up into regions, baby.
If I wasn't working the women's game tonight, I would so be there.
To get our listeners involved. I know we don't have that many, but the few, the proud, the Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Steelers fans.
We gotta start the hashtag.
You gotta tag us with your favorite CTE shots when you see them.
This is something that if we get Cole involved, it'll spread really fast.
CTE stands for contested, tough, and extra. Find your favorite contested, tough, and extra shots next season and tag us at BBB Podcast on Twitter, at Sam_Fetterman, at Jonathan Lidskin. Tag us in your favorite CTE shots. Hashtag CTE shot of the night.
So did we settle on Bennett Sturts as being the CTE shot of the night?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Great day one CTE shot of the night, by the way.
What'd you say?
I said it's a great CTE shot because it went in. Like that's a great way to start the CTE shot of the night.
Yeah, they don't necessarily have to be misses.
Oh no.
The best CTE shots go in.
Sam, you're covering AAU this summer. You're going to be in hell with these.
I haven't made that public yet.
All right, so we'll steer clear of that for now.
Oh,
but yes, we will see plenty of CTE shots on the circuit. CJ, we thank you for joining us. I'll probably text you after the show with some random bullshit.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
For sure.
All right, we got to do this quickly. I don't think you watched much of the UCLA game.
I did not, but looking at the box score, impressed that UCLA had 7 different guys with 7 points or more. It's really tough to stop a team when they have that many guys going. And if Sebastian Mack is healthy, I'd imagine, they can probably grind out a game against Tennessee on Saturday. Not, I wouldn't bet on it, but they certainly, the way they play, can get into the mud with Tennessee and make that one interesting.
I didn't watch much of the Tennessee game either, but shout out Chaz Lanier. He had 6 threes at 29 points. 2 absolute slaughters, one by Houston, one by Gonzaga, that set up a top 10 Ken Pom matchup for the first time in the second round since Jonathan.
Illinois Loyola.
Same exact part of the bracket, too.
Gonzaga is number 7 in Ken Pom.
Jonathan, I texted you before the Houston game. I said
Gonzaga is like 4 spots away on defense. I know we don't advocate for this, but Gonzaga is like 4 spots away on defense from fitting the national championship qualifier.
Get the national championship qualifier out of here. The final game that I want to talk about. Actually, no. 2 more games to talk about. 1, VCU BYU. Whoops.
Yeah, so I actually meant
Young's good.
I actually meant to text you this earlier today. I think that the VCU BYU game today proved how unique of a team Houston is. Because we spent this week talking about how VCU defensively does a lot of things, similar to what Houston does, and BYU shredded them. I think we have to mark this Houston team as a team that is really tough to prepare for on a one-day scout because of how unique their defense is.
That's why I think they're going to beat Gonzaga, by the way.
Yeah.
Not also that they're better. Igor Demin looked like the best player on the floor in this game. I thought Max Scholgo would be the best player on the floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his stock rose tremendously today.
1.23 points per possession for BYU. They dominated this game from the end of the first half until the last 5 minutes. They got up by 20. They were the best. They were maybe one of the big winners. I think they might be the biggest winner from today in terms of just how I view them long term, because this game really made me feel very good about Kevin Young as a coach.
Yeah, no, he's running a great system there. NBA principals making their way to the college ranks.
All right, and the final game that I want to discuss. We had it! We had it! UC San Diego
We did.
played as badly as you could possibly play in this game for the first 10 minutes. Came back, took the lead with 2 minutes left, and lost. Jonathan, what are your takeaways?
Beating a high major as a mid major, going down 10-0 in the game like that is really difficult. I was happy the way they fought back as someone who was rooting for them, but they you could talk about the officiating all they want. They did that to themselves. They put themselves in too many holes with decision making and playing from behind in the first half. Like it was a tough hill to climb, and they just they couldn't quite get to the top of it. I think
they took 5 more shots than Michigan. I thought they were probably going to take like 8 to 10 more shots.
Yes. I thought that Eric Olin, who has been one of the best coaches in the country this year, did not coach a very good end of the game. I didn't really like, bleeding the clock down like that when the best they could do was a tie. Didn't like some of their shot selection. They had a play at the end of the game where I think this was like 1:30 to go, where they called a timeout and their play out of the timeout was just a guy on a back down. Didn't really work. He missed the shot. And not the worst look in the world, but definitely not the look I thought they were going to get coming out of the timeout. I thought Trey Donaldson was a difference maker tonight for Michigan. Him kind of turning into this, more reliable point guard option was the reason that they won the Big Ten tournament, and was a huge part of the reason they won tonight. I know, it was Golden who was the best player on the offensive end for Michigan. But Donaldson had 12 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. He's got a nice motor to him, and that was a ballsy shot down 2 from that distance to give Michigan the lead right back.
Yeah, as good of a year as Aniwa Tate Jones had, UC San Diego was better with him off the floor.
He finished minus 21, right?
He should minus 19. He should have sat longer.
Yeah.
Aniwa Tate Jones should have sat longer in the middle of the second half when UC San Diego was making a push. Jordan Majewski was all over this during the game.
Yeah.
I was tweeting back and forth with him during this game. But man, I thought they'd get it done. And they didn't. 12 for 16, but I lost 3 Sweet 16 teams, Jonathan.
Yeah, 12-4 day for me. Definitely could have been better. Losing Clemson, who is the Final Four team for both of us, sucks. You and I split the head-to-head games today, 1-1 on those.
I had Drake. Jonathan had Texas
A&M. Yeah, not totally mad about the day I had bracket-wise. I mean, I lost the Final Four team in the first week, the first round last year, and still managed to recover nicely, getting the national champion right and a couple of Elite Eight teams.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, if you get the national champion right, which we actually have different champions this year for the first time in the last couple of years.
It's 2022, yeah. But like I told you earlier today,
really started doing this.
Now I haven't seen many UNC to the Elite Eight, which you and I both have. They play Mississippi tomorrow during the day. If UNC gets to the Elite Eight, that can pretty much make up for what Clemson did to us today.
All right, Jonathan, take us home.
If you came to hear about Tyler Self and where he's working, you came to the right place. If you came to hear about CTE shots going viral, you came to the right place. And if you came to hear about the latest happenings with Caleb Grill, who has unfortunately played his last game in a Missouri Tiger uniform,
last college basketball game,
you came to the right place. This has been Season 5, Episode 81 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Vid Stealers. We'll see you tomorrow night.